Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lifestyle with Dr. Moby. I'm Dr. Moby, and today we are honored with great guest with us, Janelle. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, Dr. Moby. How are you?
Good. And Janelle is going to talk about very, very important topic, and I'll put her website right there. And she is actually coaching about relationships.
When we say our vow, we say for better, for worse. But then when the worst comes, all of a sudden they're like, oh, I can't do this. Bye.
Or
You're on
is
your own,
or
right?
is your fault? Is your
Oh
fault?
yeah, the blame. Oh, that is the killer of all intimacy and connection. Is the blame. Absolutely. Like I think, honestly, Dr. Moby, that is the one thing that me and my husband are so great at. We are so great at taking responsibility for ourselves and our emotions and our actions, but we're also responsible for the condition of the relationship. So there's never blame. Everything is always, we're taking responsibility, we're taking ownership, and we never say it's, oh, that's your problem, that's not my problem. Everything is together. All our challenges, all our wins, everything is as a unit, as though we're one human being. And so we don't argue, and we talk about everything, like even the hard stuff. We have so much respect for each other that even when we talk about difficult conversations, it's always from a place of love and empathy and understanding.
And it doesn't mean that you have to agree with everything he or she says. What it means is that we can argue, and in a professional, like adults, you don't need to fight like kids. You just put your point out. They agree or they don't, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, here, so talking back to men, one of the things that a lot of men forget is that when women come to you sharing some sort of stress, they just need you to listen. They don't want to be fixed. They don't want advice. They just want someone to hear what they're saying, for someone to say, yeah, that sucks. I understand you. I feel you. I'm with you. That's what women want. We don't want your advice. We just need you to be like, I care enough to sit beside you like your best friend, to wrap my arm around you and say, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. I'm here. Everything's going to be great. And so I actually trained my husband, and I have this conversation with him. I was like, when I'm upset, just listen to me. Just look at me and nod your head. And then when I'm finished, ask me if I want ice cream. Because when I'm stressed, I want ice cream. So he knows. He knows exactly what to do every single time I'm upset. And therefore, I'm only upset for like 5 minutes. And then it's done. And there's no argument. And at the end of it, I'm like, oh, honey, thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you for being my best friend. Thank you for letting me get off my chest the thing I need to talk about. And he's the hero. He gets to be the good guy, not the bad guy.
Very good, very nice. So I basically, you're absolutely right. You don't need to provide solution, like So you just need to just listen, and then just hope that then once you are kind of on the other side thinking more, then you'll know the solution yourself. But, yeah.
And I would say too, here's a piece of advice, whether you're a man or a woman, when your partner starts to be upset and they're talking, what I do with my husband or even my best friend, I say to her, hold on, before you start. Do you want me to listen just to listen? Or do you want me to listen to help you and give you advice?
Yeah.
And 9 out of 10 times, she'll just say, I just need you to listen. Okay. But sometimes she'll say, you know what? I need advice. Okay, great. So the way I'm listening is very different.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And then that's true. We need to differentiate. And that I also kind of practice too, is that just separate those two. You just need to listen, and you just give advice when advice is needed. I think you don't need to give advice every time. So
Yeah.
And that's what I tried, because many times, they find themselves advice. So it's just, maybe they just need some kind of strength to second it, but that's
Hmm.
normal. Also, tell me a little bit about, what are the things they can do together to improve your relationships.
Hmm. Well, one of the things that I hear a lot from couples is, my husband won't talk to me. He never opens up to me. We have no connection. We have no intimacy. And I would say, and then I talk to the other one, I talk to the husband, and the husband will say to me, well, of course I don't open up to her because she's always yelling at me. She's always getting mad at me. Of course I don't want to open up. So I would say is like, be a safe space for your partner. And what I mean by safe space is no judgment, no criticism, just like really being as though you're talking either to yourself or your best friend.
Hmm.
You wouldn't start about to your best friend or yourself. So why would you do that to your partner? Just and I think when you can create a safe space, and part of creating a safe space is being the first one to open up, being the first one to show your heart. Because, as when we feel threatened, we put up our walls, right? We go into fight or flight. We try to defend, we go into survival, and we don't want to let anyone into our hearts because we're afraid that they will hurt us.
Hmm.
So being the courageous person to say, listen, first of all, I'm so sorry for the way I talked to you yesterday. I really get that was not okay. And I just really want you to know that I really love you. And whatever it is that you need to say to me, I promise you that I will listen with love and empathy. And I just really want you to know that, I'm committed, that you get what you need from me as a partner. Versus, you didn't do this, and all the blame, and you're not a good husband, or you're not a good wife, and how come you're messy and you're lazy, like all of these negative thoughts that we have about the person, and then yet we wonder why that person doesn't respond to our love. It's like,
Hmm.
well, of course, and so I think it's really going back to being responsible.
Yeah, and that is true. And so, also tell me, like, certain activities you think that helps them to.
Mm. Yeah, well, this is really great. So my first thing I would say is know your partner's love language, right? So there are 5 love languages. If you guys have never read the book from Dr. Gary Chapman, it is the basis for every relationship. So for example, like when I look at me and my husband, we know each other's love language so well. So for example, like number 1 is communication, right? Both of our strengths is communication. So we have really, really great communication. Number 2, his is physical touch. So I know when he's upset, I just need to hug him for 5 minutes, stroke his hair, hug him, tell him I love him. Obviously he responds to sex and intimacy more. And I know that about him. But, other people, it might be gifts. Other people, it might be acts of service. So for me, my husband knows mine is acts of service. So when my husband cleans my kitchen or brings me coffee, to me, that shows that he loves me. But for somebody else, they say like, oh, that's just coffee, like no big deal. So
Yeah.
understanding what it is that makes your partner feel loved, not the way you want to feel loved, how your partner wants to feel loved. If you know that, that's the secret key that will unlock your partner opening up. Because if your partner doesn't feel loved, it doesn't matter what you do, like, so for example, my first husband, how he used to show me love is gifts. But I'm not a gift person. I don't care about gifts. I don't care about he used to build me things like a bookcase and build me kitchen islands. But for me, it's like, no, I just want you to help me wash the dishes. I just want you to tell me you love me and that I'm beautiful. I don't care about your gifts. But we didn't know that at the time. So anytime I meet a couple for the first time, that is one of my first questions is, do you know how your partner loves to be loved? And most of the time they say no. So that is an indication.
Also, I want to kind of emphasize. I mean, there's one question I get all the time too, is that men will say, "Oh, my wife," or the other way too. They'll say, "My partner is high maintenance," and they
Mm.
feel love, so they equate love to money. So you have to buy these expensive gifts to please them. Now,
Hmm.
do you think that how to handle that?
Yeah, well, this is really interesting, Dr. Moby, because assume, most men assume that's what women want. Maybe it's from their family, maybe it's from an ex-girlfriend, but they assume that that's what their partner wants. And
Or
then they
maybe,
tell,
or maybe there are very few people who do like that, right?
sure, yeah, they're out there, but they don't actually know for a fact. They just think, well, I saw it on TV that women like diamonds, so I'm just gonna buy her diamonds. For me, I don't care about diamonds. I like costume jewelry, $10. As long as it looks good, I don't care if it's you spend $10 or $1,000. But I think it's the assumption. It's the assumption that that's what women want is the problem. Not that it is. If that's what her love language is gifts, great. And if you have deep pockets, great. But even the love language of gifts, it doesn't even have to be expensive. People whose love language is gifts, it can be a post-it note that says I love you. It can be flowers, it can be their favorite chocolate. It's just something of material. It doesn't have to be super expensive. The other thing I would say, Dr. Moby, that men don't know that they should know, for women, they think that if I buy her something expensive like a pair of earrings, that's a big gift. So maybe for the next 2 months, I'm
Mhm.
good. It's
Oh,
big, so I don't have to put any effort for the next 2 months. You know, and then their wives will complain and say, "Oh, you don't love me," and he's gonna say, "Of course I love you. I bought you those earrings." Right? And one thing men need to know is that women, we count everything the same. If you buy me earrings of $1,000 or you say I love you, it's the same number of points. You don't get more points the bigger the gesture is. It's all 1 point.
yeah. So what you're saying is don't do that, and for rest of the year, don't say that.
It's
I,
it's about consistency. It's
yeah,
about watering, like if you think about watering a plant, you can't water your plant every 2 months. You gotta
yeah.
consistent every 2 days or 3 days. You gotta keep that. That's what women need, and I think men don't think about that.
Okay. So then, from the other men's side, just a few topics. Food.
Hmm.
Who gets pleased with food? Men or
I hope everybody does. I mean,
yeah.
I think. Well, like my husband loves to cook. He loves to cook. And for him, when he cooks for me and I enjoy it, he gets satisfaction from me saying, "Oh, honey, your cooking was so good. Thank you." That for him is like, "Ah, oh, yeah, okay. My wife is happy. All right." He loves to please me. And therefore I love to please him. And it's back and forth. It's like an energetic transfer,
Hmm.
right? But when we go into, well, you didn't do this for me and I do everything for you, and we start keeping score, that will never end well.
Yeah. So the scorecard system doesn't
Yeah.
because so the other thing is probably is if somebody does any mistake, then
Mm.
in relationship. So what is the value of forgiveness in that, or forget both? So
Yeah. So I would say that for saying I'm sorry is different than actually being sorry. So many men say I'm sorry for the same, and then they go and do it again. And then they say I'm sorry, and then they go do it again. So for women, it doesn't make any difference anymore because your sorry has no value. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And so for women, we need to feel that you're actually sorry. Not just, oh, I'm sorry, but really like, sweetheart, I'm so sorry that I blew up at you the other day. It's just that, I was really frustrated and I took it out on you, and I'm really, really sorry. And I promise that I'm never going to do that again because I love you. Like, that is different than, oh, I'm sorry. And it's almost like you're only saying sorry because you feel like you have to, but it's not genuine. And people,
so do some effort to improve.
yeah, but really like coming from a genuine place, not just saying the words out of your mouth and thinking, well, I said I was sorry. Isn't that enough? No, if the authenticity and the genuineness is not felt, then your sorry makes no difference. So if you have a partner that has that, the other thing, sorry, one more thing I would say about that is you want to give your partner time to say what it is they need to say to you, and not get defensive. Going back to the listening, a lot of us, when we listen to respond, to justify, to make excuses. And then that's how the arguments get bigger and bigger. But can you imagine if I said to you, you know what, I'm really, really sorry. Let's say, I'm really, really sorry for lying to you. I don't know. I'm sorry for lying to you. And then your partner says, yeah, you hurt me and I feel betrayed and I feel like I can't trust you, blah, 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 blah. And then you just going like, yeah, I understand. Yeah, you don't trust me. I get it. Versus, well, you did this and why can't you trust me? Like, to actually listen and be with whatever it is that your partner is saying. And then once they're finished talking, then they'll be like, oh, okay, everything I needed to say. That's the thing with women. We just need to talk it out. It's not that we're trying to attack you. We just need to get whatever this pressure, this tension in our body out of our body. And how we do that is through talking. So if men can just keep that in mind, try not to take it personal, and just give her space to say whatever she needs to say, even if it's mean, even if she's swearing, just be calm. Even think about putting like a protection field around yourself and just listen to her. Just, got it. Yeah, I upset you. Yeah, I understand. I can see why you're mad. That will diffuse the conversation and the bitterness. And the best part about it is once it's done, it's not going to keep coming back, because that's the problem. A lot of it, if it's not finished, it will keep resurfacing itself, and the women will bring back, oh, well, remember 2 years ago, that thing you did? The reason she's bringing it up is because she hasn't had the closure yet.
Okay. So do you think it's better for them, for both, to actually forget and then start over every day?
I think so, because and it's a choice, right? Every day is a choice. It's kind of like, I have a lot of clients that deal with affair, like infidelity, and they say to me, well, we want to stay together, but it's going to take time to forgive them. Well, I say, well, how much time? How much time do they need? Or how much time do you need? And they'll say, I don't know, maybe 5 years, 10 years. And I was like, why so long? Well, it's going to take time. I said, well, who says? Who says it's going to take time? Because if you are really, really committed to being happy, to being together, to forgiving, honestly, you could do it like that. You just need to decide. You just need to choose. You know what? That was that. I know he's sorry, and I love him, and I just want to get on with our lives. So why would you wait 5-10 years to go get on with your life? Because by then, I don't know about you, but if that was me and someone was punishing me for 5 to 10 years for a mistake I made because I'm human, I'm not going to stick around. I'm going to be like, no, my heart, you beat me up so much, emotionally, I'm not going to stick around for that.
Mm. But the other thing, important thing is, like you said, is you don't forgive and forget, and then next week try to do same. So then
Yep.
that will be probably like then that will be probably end of.
Yeah, and I get that it's not easy. I get that it's almost like counterintuitive, you know? It's like you want to go this way, but you know you need to go this way. And it takes practice, especially if we have parents that acted like that. It's like a lot of times we have a parent that used to yell at us, for example. And then now as an adult, we yell at the people in our life because that's what we're used to. That's what we're accustomed to in our family. And so for someone to change and not yell, it's very difficult for them.
Mm.
Even though they know they shouldn't yell, they do it anyway because it's automatic. And so learning the discipline and being emotionally aware and catching yourself when you're starting to get really upset takes work.
But thank you for coming, and it was wonderful.